1993, three 8-year-old boys were brutally murdered in a small town in eastern Arkansas. There is evidence the killings may have been part of a satanic ritual, but much about this awful case remains unclear. Today we'll try to solve the remaining puzzle with the cooperation of experts and family members from both the young victim's side and the side of the teenaged accused. Pam and Terry are the parents of Stevie Hobbs. Stevie, one of the 8-year-old boys, brutally murdered. Jackie is the victim's grandfather. I know it's difficult, Pam, but can you describe the wounds on Stevie's body?
The left side of his face was cut and mutilated. He was tied hand and foot, and he had injuries to his head where his brain had scattered when they hit him.
Essentially, he was beaten to death? Mm-hmm. Tell us your reaction, Terry, when you heard what had happened to your stepson.
I don't know, I couldn't believe it. Went into shock. Maybe in shock now. You know, I still can't believe it. It's like a long nightmare that you keep waiting to wake up from. And we're here in the middle of it.
Joining us via satellite from West Memphis, Arkansas, is the father of one of the three teenaged accused. Actually, his son has already been convicted of murdering the three 8-year-olds. This is Jesse Miskelly Sr. He's joined by some supporters you can see in the background. Before I talk to that side and this much more deeply about what happened, you should know that this story of the murders of the three young boys has taken many bizarre twists and turns. Indeed, new revelations are emerging every single day. Our team visited West Memphis, Arkansas to investigate. Here's the story of the three dead young men. Reminiscing over children's photos brings joy to most families. But in the house of Marie Hicks and her daughter Pam Hobbs, it is a painful and torturous event. Pam's 8-year-old son Stephen was sexually molested and brutally murdered, along with two other 8-year-old boys, Michael Moore and Christopher Byers. It happened in West Memphis, Arkansas on May 5th, 1993. Christopher had also been castrated. Charged in the brutal murders were three local teenagers: Jesse Miskelly Jr., 18, Damian Eccles, 18, and Jason Baldwin, just 16. The parents of one of the murdered boys yelled at Damian on his way to a court appearance.
Hey, faggot! What you look like, a faggot?
Adding to the parents' horrors were reports that the killers had participated in devil worship. On February 4th, Jesse Miskelly Jr. was found guilty of the murders. He was sentenced to life in prison, plus 40 years. The trials of Damian Eccles and Jason Baldwin are scheduled for late February. In June of last year, 1993, the Memphis Commercial Appeal reported that cult experts had warned West Memphis officials back in 1992 that satanic cult activities were present in the community. One of the three defendants told West Memphis police that local cult activities included eating dogs and participating in sex orgies. Acquaintances of Damian Eccles told reporters that Eccles customarily wore black, killed cats, and worshipped the devil. Stephanie Dollar, a West Memphis resident, said there has long been talk about cult activities in West Memphis.
All the talk about it, the symbols that you see wrote everywhere, which it could be just kids writing things, I don't know. But there's just too much talk about it for it not to be true.
Jesse Miskelly Jr., like his two co-defendants, lived in a rundown trailer park in the West Memphis area. The teenager's room revealed nothing extraordinary. Most of the pictures and posters were fairly typical for an 18-year-old boy's room. Although a jury found his son guilty, Jesse Miskelly Sr. steadfastly professes his son's innocence.
I've got 15, 20 people that saw him out here in this trailer park that day, up until 7:30. Then he went to Dallas, Arkansas to wrestle. There's no way he could have been up there to kill those boys. He was out here in this trailer park because they have witnesses to prove that he was here, but the police, they say he was not here. And they got up there and lied Jesse was not in that. Because said eat the hind leg of a dog. Jesse won't eat fried chicken. What are you talking about?
Jesse Sr.'s story is supported by 15-year-old Susie Brewer, Jesse Jr.'s girlfriend.
I think they're stupid. I don't think he did it. I just tell him I still love him and we're all behind him. Damien's weird looking and Jason, he's just quiet.
Police believe the murders occurred in a small grove known by the locals as Robin Hood Woods. It's a popular spot for teenage beer drinking and parties. Based on police and news reports, we have recreated the boys' final moments. Late afternoon on May 5th, 1993, the boys entered the woods. One was riding a girl's bike, the other a boy's bike. The third child had a skateboard. It is believed the boys spent some time roaming and playing in the woods. At some point, however, after 6 p.m., the three children and their assailants met. The following day, May 6th, the police spotted a young boy sneaker and a Cub Scout hat floating in a small creek. The bodies of the three boys were found just yards away.
Pam, can you tell us what happened that afternoon? What happened to your son? What was he usually doing at that time?
After school, Michael had come over and asked could Stevie go to his house and play.
Michael Moore, one of the three victims, yeah.
Sir, yeah, to Michael Moore's house, the other little boy. And at first I told him no, and he kept begging, so I went ahead and told him that he could go, and I gave him a time to be home. I told him to be home by 4:30, that if he wasn't home, he would be grounded. And I had to go to work that night, and I left for work around 4:55, and he still wasn't at home. So I went on to work, and my husband started searching for him. And we searched all night, and just it come up the next day that he was dead.
Who told you that they found his body?
My husband and I went to the school to check to tell them that we hadn't found the boys, and a lady said, I heard they just found 3 boys. So we went to the part where they had found them at, and I run up. They already had the police line out and everything, and I run up, and someone said that it was Stevie, that it was the boys.
Grandpa Jackie, do you believe this was a devil worship cult? Do you believe this was a satanic organization, or these boys were in some way connected? And how do you respond to that?
Yes, I definitely believe that it was. At the time of the murders, satanic was a world of its own. It was something that wasn't even in my mind. But as time progresses and goes on, and we've learned a little more, studied a little more, and went along with it, at all points from what we've read and studied, yes, it was a satanic type murder.
What's your reaction? I know you folks are nervous about being on TV. What's your reaction to what happened to your grandson?
Well, him and a couple little boys were just beautiful little boys playing. Those little boys still believe in Santa Claus and the Easter bunnies. They were playing in the woods called Robin Hood Park, where all the neighborhood kids play at. And evidently they've run up on something. And those boys were cruelly beaten to death. They were beaten to death. I saw my grandson at the funeral home before he was taken out of a body bag, just like he came back from the corner. And it was pitiful.
Tell us. Help us understand that. What did they do to him?
What did they do to him? His jaw was completely tore loose from his face. His eye was busted in the socket. His chest and all was kicked and stomped. His face was kicked and stomped. It's just pitiful, pitiful. It's something that a decent human being wouldn't even do to a live dog, let alone a human being.
Did a feeling of rage swell up in you?
Well, naturally, you know, the feeling of rage swollen up.